What the mainstream media was afraid to tell you about the news this week. This week, while the mainstream media was obsessing about President Trump and the post office, here are the things that happened that really matter. 5-year-old boy, Cannon Hinnant, was murdered this past Sunday, executed by a monster named Darius Sessoms, who put a gun to Cannon's head while Cannon was riding his bike in his dad's front yard, pulled the trigger, and murdered Cannon in front of his 7- and 8-year-old sisters. But did the mainstream media report on this hideous, this heartbreaking, this brutal murder? No. The mainstream media, including NBC News, ABC News, and the New York Times and others, literally did not air one segment or publish one story talking about this murder. Perhaps because Cannon Hinnant had white skin and his killer black skin. Senator Kamala Harris, now Joe Biden's vice presidential running mate, co-sponsored a bill in the U.S. Senate that would force schools to allow biological males to compete in women's sports. The so-called Equality Act, which would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to make sexual orientation and gender identity protected characteristics under federal anti-discrimination law, would effectively destroy girls' sports and erase biological females altogether. And the vast majority of Americans oppose this measure. Only less than 1/3 agree with Kamala Harris's radical position. But did the mainstream media report on this? No. The mainstream media actually calls Kamala Harris a moderate. More evidence shows that reopening schools does not pose a significant risk to children or teachers when it comes to the COVID-19 virus. We already knew kids are more likely to die of the seasonal flu than they are to die from COVID-19. But according to Professor Francois Ballot, teachers are not at risk either. The professor writes, and I quote, "The best evidence comes from Sweden, where the schools did not close. People working in schools were at a lower or similar risk of COVID-19 infection relative to other occupations," end quote. But did the mainstream media report this data-based, fact-based, science-based evidence that it's safe to reopen schools? Nope. The mainstream media ignored it. The violent riots in Chicago were based on a false narrative about a police-involved shooting in the city. The vandals claimed an unarmed black teenager was unjustly gunned down by police. But that's false. The truth is, the man was armed. He was threatening people with a gun, so police were called. The man then fired shots at police, and then he fled. While he was fleeing, he fired more shots at police. So police returned fire, and the man was shot but not killed. Clearly, this had nothing to do with race. Yet, the city of Chicago was destroyed by violent vandals because of it. But did the mainstream media correct the record about the police-involved shooting? They barely mentioned it. Newly released documents show the Obama, Biden, Comey FBI lied to Congress about the Russia witch hunt. Senator Lindsey Graham released a February 2018 memo of an FBI briefing to the Senate Intel Committee regarding Christopher Steele's dossier source, a man named Igor Danchenko. According to the Department of Justice Inspector General's investigation into the Russian witch hunt, Danchenko's statements to the FBI, quote, raised significant questions about the reliability of Steele's reports. But these concerns about Steele's credibility conveniently were not mentioned in the FBI's briefing to the Senate. Apparently, the Obama, Biden, Comey FBI wanted to make the Steele dossier seem more credible than it really was in order to use the wild claims to try to take down Trump. But did the mainstream media report on this? No, they ignored it because the mainstream media is in the pocket of the left, and the left knows they're guilty of abusing government power to target Trump. The mainstream media doesn't care to report any of that to you, so we will.